Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to your calendars franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, we had the second round of the playoffs, and it was another solid round for this team. As you can see, we decided to knock out the defending cup champions in the Columbus Blue Jackets, so very good performance from our team. We did win game 1 7-5, so a pretty convincing win. We did have like a week off in between series though, because we won 5 games in the first round as well. We then lost game 2 5-1, so at that point I wasn't too sure what to make of our team. Well, we then responded with a 6-5 victory, a 2-1 victory, and a 4-2 victory. So a lot of close games, but we were able to beat out the defending cup champions, which is absolutely huge. And now we have to take on the Toronto Maple Leafs in the conference finals. Now the Leafs are a little bit of an interesting team because they do have some former players on their roster. And they didn't have necessarily the best season, this Toronto team, but our former players did have pretty solid seasons, I would say. So this is what their roster looks like going into this conference finals matchup. You can see they have some pretty good depth, I would say, for the most part. Maybe a little bit weak on the bottom 6 right wing side of things, but our 2 former top-line right wingers that we used to have on our team, Jääskeläinen and Michelli, are both over there. And both these guys had some pretty solid seasons, especially Jääskeläinen. I was expecting Jääskeläinen to do good after he left us, and his first 2 seasons in Toronto, he's been a beast. 56 goals, which is a career high for him, so we got to make sure to contain him. He's also got 9 goals in 13 playoff games, and we know that he could do good in the playoffs based on what he did for us a number of years ago. So shout out to Jääskeläinen. Hopefully he doesn't do too much damage against us. And then Phil Michelli's an interesting one. We brought this guy in from the Seattle Kraken when we did like a little bit of a swap with, I think it was Tate Cook, if I remember right. He came in and only put up 2 goals in 21 games. Not the best results, but the year afterwards, 61 points and 25 goals. It was pretty solid, but that year also, he had a very bad playoffs, as you could see here. He was a -9 in 7 games. We got eliminated in the first round, so kind of left a little bit of a sour taste in our mouth, so we let him go, and he also went to the Toronto Maple Leafs. So will be interesting to see if we could contain those 2 former snipers of ours. And then they also do have a former defenseman of ours in Dennis Ludman, who briefly played here, also played in our AHL affiliate. So it's an interesting Toronto Maple Leafs team. I hope that we're able to find a way to beat them, obviously, because they are a little bit of a cheese team, it says, on paper, I would say, just based on the fact that they don't have the best defensive core. Their goaltending is kind of mid as well, obviously, so I think we should be able to beat them, but this game could completely screw us over and make us eliminated in the conference finals. So hopefully we can find a way to get 4 more wins. And then if we do win the series, we'll face either the Jets or the Kings for the Stanley Cup, if that's the case. But anyways, before we get into this conference finals matchup against the Toronto Maple Leafs, let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll probably get right into game number 1, depending if we want our line set up the way we did for last round or not. So the first comment is from Sour Taco, says there's a distinct whiff of fromage coming from the Leafs, but I think you could take them. And yeah, that's basically what I expect with them too. Like, they didn't have a great defensive core. Their goaltending obviously is quite low at this point because Spencer Knight has dropped off a lot, and he hasn't had necessarily a great playoffs either. He's only posted a 905 so far at this point, so maybe we do have the upper hand in terms of goal scoring against him because he's not that great of a goaltender, but obviously the game could just make him all of a sudden give them 4 shutouts in a row, and I would not be surprised just because this game kind of likes their lower end goaltenders over elite goaltenders, because we have obviously an elite goaltender technically in Solovyov, but in the playoffs it seems like lower end goalies are usually the ones that simulate the best. So Solovyov, he's an 88 versus an 80 overall goaltender in Spencer Knight. He might get completely outplayed. And the last and final comment is from Michael Dosey, says, I have no idea what this Islanders team is. Goalie and defense could shut them down and then give up 6. Offense can score 7 goals and then go 2 next game. Very frustrating team, yet they win. And yeah, it's a little bit of an inconsistent team for sure with like its defensive play, with its offensive play. Because if we look at our playoff run as a whole up to this point in time, if we load this up here, you can see in the first round here, we scored 5 goals, we give up 3, we score 4, we give up 1. Like, that first round in general, I think we played good defensively, we were scoring consistent offensively, but that second round, obviously against Columbus, I think maybe it's just because they were the defending cup champions, they had some good depth, but we scored 7 and gave up 5. We gave up 5, only scored 1. Then we scored 6, gave up 5. So 3 straight games giving up 5 goals against. Not the best results there. But then we had a nice defensive game, 2-1, and a 4-2 victory. So I don't know what really was wrong with this team and what is going right with this team to an extent. Obviously, there is room for improvement, obviously, but I think this team could eventually find itself probably in terms of consistency, but gonna take a little bit more work here. Like, we have some good scores, you could see over point per game, but in general, like, we don't have a ton of guys over point per game. It's just kind of more of like good depth scoring in a sense that's helping us win these type of games. So hopefully the depth scoring shows up again. And then from a goaltending perspective, obviously Solovyov has had some pretty good games, but also some pretty rough ones, because if we go to his game logs over the postseason so far, like his last 3 games in that series against Columbus, he was really good, but the first 2 games against Columbus, he was absolutely atrocious. Meanwhile, against Detroit, his first game against them was kind of mid, and then his game 2 was really good, his game 3 was really bad, his game 4 was really good, and then his game 5 was really good. So it seems like right now, at least, he's good at closing out series, but obviously he needs to find that consistency a little bit more so going forward. He's been probably one of the most inconsistent goalies, though, because he's had also really good regular seasons and really bad playoffs, and in really bad regular seasons and good playoffs. So I'm not too sure what version of Solovyov we're getting on a nightly basis, but hopefully he's able to find a way to play pretty good. Now, one thing also, a little bit of a comparison before we get into this matchup, you can see both of us in Toronto are the top 2 offensive teams in this playoff run right now, which is kind of interesting. They're 8th in goals against, we're 6th, so we're a little bit better than they are. They have actually a really good power play this postseason, so that's one thing we need to contain is their power play. But the good thing for us is we actually have a really good penalty kill. So if our penalty kill could play really good against their power play, I think we obviously have a chance as well. I think most of their power play threats are probably guys like Jaskleinen and Michelli and all that. So if we don't allow them to score goals, that will give us a good chance to get ourselves to that Stanley Cup Finals. But anyways, with that said, let's get into the first game of this Cup Finals. I don't think we're going to make any line adjustments till at least like game 2 or 3. But right now I want to just kind of see how this team is going to take the start of the series. So who has Toronto actually eliminated up to this point? I should actually take a look at the playoff bracket first before we get into this, because I don't remember who they've taken out at this stage. I know they've taken out Buffalo, I think it was, if I remember right. Let's see, where is the playoff bracket in this? Let's see, where is the stand bracket? Oh yeah, I guess we have to go to just stat stuff. But if we go here, who have they taken out so far at this point? So they took out Montreal in the first round at 6 games, and then they went to 7 games last round with the Buffalo Sabres. So they haven't had like a sweep or anything so far. So they have played a decent amount more games than us at this point in time. The thing that worries me a little bit is they might be a little bit more ready than us because we've had a lot of time off in between series, but hopefully that's not, hopefully the rest is basically not a weapon against us, so to speak. But anyways, let's get in this first game, see what we could do here. Obviously we have home ice advantage, so let's use it to our advantage and let's find a way to win this first game of the series. So first period, game number 1. And it's 2-0 Toronto. Not a good start at all for our team, and that's exactly what I do not want to see from this roster right now. So Toronto's also had a really good penalty kill in this playoffs, but Cannon opens the scoring with a short-handed goal, and that's literally a minute and 23 seconds in. So we got literally a power play gifted to us very early in this game, but they were able to score short-handed, so that's going to take the crowd right out of the game. That's not a good start. And then Scuderi scores kind of late into that period. Shots are kind of close at least, so we are generating chances, but so far that is exactly what we don't want to see from Solovyov and from our defensive play. So hopefully we could have a good second period and find a way to respond. Don't give them any goals, find a way to maybe get 1 to 2 goals back, and we could still win this game potentially. Second period. Still 2-0, that's not great. Shots are even 23 apiece. We might end up getting cheesed because of Spencer Knight. Because Spencer Knight right now is playing just as good, or actually even better, I should say, than Solovyov is. And that's exactly what I was anticipating with how low end that goaltending is. But not great so far that we haven't been able to score on an 80 overall goaltender. Can we find a way to maybe crawl back into this in the third period, or are we going to lose our first home game of the series? Let's see what happens. Come on, boys. Let's get that next goal, and that might help us. Penalty kill to start the third. We do not want to give them power plays when they have a dangerous power play. We kill it off, which is good, but still that took like half the period off the clock, which is not a great thing. Can we find a way to get any goals in this game, or are we going to get goalied in game 1? And we do break the shutout late, Anton Frundell. And that is going to be it, though. So we do score 1 goal, so we did break the shutout, which is nice. But unfortunately, that first period cost us the game pretty much. Shots were even in that game, so I wouldn't say it was a terrible game, but our offense obviously should have done better. Good game from Solovyov. He managed to respond after letting in an early goal, but it would have been nice to see our team find a way to tie that game up there. So our only goal is Frundell from Sealfido and Leahy, but yeah. Not good. Not good. Especially giving up a short-handed goal. Let's see the minuses. Mäkinen and Bjorkstrand were both -2. That's not ideal. And then the goalie percentage. Yeah, Solovyov was really good in game 1. I'm going to say Solovyov was probably our best player in that game for sure. He gets 2nd star behind Spencer Knight and Scuderi to 3rd star, but we definitely need to be better offensively in the next game. And that's kind of the inconsistencies that Michael was mentioning about how we could go from scoring a ton of goals to barely any goals. Like, we literally went from scoring 6 goals here to all of a sudden scoring only 2. And then to scoring 4. Now we're back to scoring 2 again. So we got to be more consistent with the effort, like scoring like a certain amount of goals at least per game. We can't be just scoring 2 goals and then 6 goals and all that. Or giving up, say, 6 goals and then giving up 2 goals and all that. We need to find that consistency in the playoffs, or else it's going to be really tough to win these type of games. So I don't think it was a terrible first game, even though we lost, so I'm not going to make any adjustments. But if we lose this game, I will probably make some adjustments going into Toronto, of course. So let's see if we can find a way to get that offense flowing a little bit better and keep on getting that good goaltending result from Solovyov. Because if Solovyov plays like this, we have a chance to win these type of games. But like I said, we just need to find that offensive consistency if he's going to be more consistent in net. First period, game number 2. Let's get off to a better start, please. And we are going to get off to a better start. Okay, Eriksson opens the scoring. Nice to see that, because obviously last game we did not score a goal all the way until late in the 3rd period. So good to see us scoring here in the first 20 minutes. Shots are 9-7 in favor of the Leafs, but it is a 1-0 game for us. Can we find a way to potentially get some insurance going forward into the 3rd period, potentially? 2nd period? 2-0 us. Okay, we do have the same lead as Toronto had last game, and it's Korolyuk scoring again. So Korolyuk has still been really surprising to me. And like I mentioned in the last episode, he's been scoring quite well in the postseason compared to regular season. Like, regular season, he was averaging, like, I think he only had, like, it was 5 goals and 5 assists for 10 points in 82 games. So far this postseason, I think he's got, like, 4 or 5 goals almost. So he's almost scoring as much in the postseason as he did all regular seasons. So this is good to see. Shots are 23-15 in favor of the Leafs. So the Leafs are actually getting a lot more chances than us. But so far, Solovyov has been really good again here in Game 2. And we are finding our offense a little bit more so than last game. So pretty good so far. Let's find a way to contain them in this 3rd period and maybe get 1 more goal just to feel safe. 3rd period underway. Come on, boys, you got this. Penalty kill to start the 3rd. We killed it off. Power play for us. We do not score on it. And then they break the shutout. It's Schoenmakers beating Solovyov. I forgot that they had a guy named Schoenmakers. What a name that is. Final 5 minutes of this 3rd period. Big insurance goal there from the pending free agent in Crane. Beaudoin tries to get them back in it, but we answer back with an empty net goal from Nielakainen. And that will do it. We win Game 2 4-2. Outshooting him 36-29. So not a bad victory in that one. They did give me a little bit of a scare when they pulled within 1 again, but that empty net goal from Nielakainen, absolutely huge. And we will tie the series up, at least headed to Toronto. The fact that they took one of our home games kind of sucks, but as long as we take one back, I'm not too disappointed with the effort on home ice. So Eriksson from Giordano and Crane. Korolyuk's 4th of the playoffs from Howden and Tatar. So yeah, Korolyuk's up to 4 goals. In all 82 games during the regular season, he only had 5. So this guy's definitely a playoff performer, it seems like. Then we had Crane from Eriksson and Howden, and Nielakainen from Kaminsky and Leahy. Not bad at all. Any minus players on this roster? A couple, but not too much. It's Mäkinen, Leg, and Sealfido. It's not a huge issue, I guess, with them. And a .931 save percentage from Solovyov. So Solovyov has been off to a good start again here. Definitely showing me that he can actually play good consistently for multiple games in a row. First star in that game goes to Crane. 2nd star, Eriksson. 3rd star, Solovyov. So pretty good effort from our team in that one. We've only given up a total of how many goals? 4 goals in 2 games. So we are playing still good defensive hockey. But obviously, we've only scored 5 goals in 2 games as well. So we got to be careful that we don't get into this type of game where it's going to be close every single game. We might want to have one game where we completely blow them out of the water. But at the same time, if it's going to play like this, it's not the worst case scenario. Because then our goaltending results at least improve a bit. The save percentage goes up on guys like Solovyov and all that. So far a pretty textbook series. I don't think there's any need to make any changes yet. Obviously, I'd be liking to score maybe a bit more goals consistently, but we played good enough defensive hockey that we might as well just keep it the same and hope that we could win at least 1 to 2 games in Toronto, because obviously if we lose both these games, we'll be in a tough spot. But if we could find a way to win one of them, we'll at least have a tie series headed out of this potentially. So let's find a way to win in Toronto and see if we could build off. We've actually had a pretty good road record this playoffs, I think. Let me take a look at that here quickly. Yeah, I think we've only lost the 1 game in overtime right now. Then again, we've been cruising through a lot of teams, so we don't really have a lot of losses at this point. All right, let's get to game number 3. See if we could find a way to take our first lead of the series. We had a good game last game. Let's keep it going, and let's hope that we get that good version of Solovyov still going forward. First period, game number 3. 2-0 us. Good start here. And Korolyuk again. Oh my goodness. Okay, Korolyuk is honestly kind of crazy. Like I said, during our regular season, I was not super impressed with the 4th line. Korolyuk had, like I said, only 5 goals and 10 points. But 5 goals in the postseason for him is kind of insane. And we're not even in the Stanley Cup Finals yet at this point. So we are just still getting a lot of strengths, which is basically scoring from multiple lines, not just one line. So really like that so far. Leahy made it 1-0 on a power play goal, and then Korolyuk scored 3 minutes later. So that's a textbook first period. Shots are 15-10 in favor of us as well. Let's just not let them claw back into this. Like, have a good second period, and don't keep your foot off the don't keep your foot off the gas. Yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Really, I'm really tired for some reason, but can we find a way to keep this lead intact going into the third? Second period. Oh, they tied it up. Oh, that's not what I wanted to see. I was kind of worried about that because there is a lot of times where you score 2 in the first period and the other team answers back. Sometimes you hold on to the 2-0 lead, but yeah, I was a little bit worried about that. Schoenmaker's made it 2-1, and then 8 minutes later, Ludman, our former defenseman, scores. It's a 2-2 game going into the third, despite the shots being 27-22. So not a good second period from Solovyov, but he is still playing well, relatively okay. Those 2 goals, though, were from terrible areas, so that's a little bit worrisome, because both those are type of goals that shouldn't go in. I mean, Ludman was from kind of like the point, I guess. Schoenmaker's is kind of from like that half wall a little bit, so that's not a great spot to score from. So we definitely need maybe some better goaltending results, but let's also try and play a little bit better defensively and not let those type of shots get to the net if possible. Let's see what happens in this third period. Hopefully we didn't just blow a 2-0 lead. Let's see if we could get that next goal. Come on, boys. Let's get number 3 on our side, please. We had a good first period, and now we get a short-handed goal from Tatar. Nicely done. Tatar with a shorty. Was not expecting him to be a short-handed goal scorer, but nice to see that to give us the lead here in the third. That's a big short-handed goal at this point, but they do answer back. Nick Robertson late in the period, and we, in fact, will be going to overtime in Game 3 with a score 3-3 after 3, so all the threes in the world. Shots are 39-29 in favor of us, so we're completely outplaying them, but they've been hanging around, so I'm a little bit worried about that. I would jump into this, but this is only Game 3, so I think we're just probably going to end up simming it, but I don't like I said, that they've been hanging around. Like, we've been outplaying them, but it seems like Spencer Knight's been giving them a chance every single period for the most part, so trying to think of who I want to call on to score a potential game winner. Who has not scored in a while? Maybe Bjorkstrand. I don't think I've seen him score in a while. Yeah, let's shout out Bjorkstrand and see if he's the guy that could help us here. But yeah, we've been outplaying them. We just need to find a way to get that next one, and then we could take at least one game in Toronto. So who wants to be the hero? Let's see what happens. Overtime underway. They have a power play today, a way to start overtime, but we killed it off. So huge penalty kill there. Another penalty kill, and they get a power play goal. Why do we give them so many power plays to start off overtime? They got so many shots in that short span too, and Nick Robertson scores his 2nd consecutive goal, and unfortunately we blew it. Like I said, they were hanging around, but they got a shit ton of shots in 5 minutes of overtime. Like, let's see. Yeah, they outshot us 9-1 in the first 5 to 6 minutes of overtime because we took way too many penalties. Who took those penalties? Who took those penalties in overtime? So there was a delay of game penalty against Boyd, so that's not a good penalty to take in overtime. And then Newman, who's in the lineup because I almost completely forgot Schaefer was injured last round, he also took a penalty. Hopefully when Schaefer's back, we all of a sudden start playing better defensively a bit, but that's a rough one. And in terms of the goal scoring anyways, Leahy from Frundell and Kasivi, Korliuk from Kaminsky, and Newman. So Newman did pick up an assist at least in that game. And then Tatar from Crane, but then Nick Robertson scores 2 unanswered goals. That's unfortunate. Jaskline and Michelli both picked up assists in that game for the Leafs as well. Ludman scored a goal. That's the ex-guys that are scoring against us. That's not great. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. That's not good. So we do fall down 2-1 in the series, which means this next game is pretty damn crucial for us to win. We need to find a way to get this next game, or else we're going to have to come back from 3-1, which is doable, but it is much tougher, obviously, to do here, probably in the conference finals. So let's go to edit lines and maybe make some adjustments here. How long until Schaefer is back, out of curiosity? He's almost back. He won't be back for this game, but he might be back for the next one, which is good. But from an offensive standpoint, Giordano's been quite quiet, I feel like, as of recent. Let's see him. 7 points. I'm going to put him on the top line just to change things up a little bit. Maybe Makinen and Frundell need a new line mate for a little bit, too, because the top 6 has been kind of quiet. Korliuk's actually technically playing 4th line center right now, and he's been one of our best players, which is not good. Trying to think if there's anything I would do here. I feel like the bottom 6 has definitely been our best scoring lines, which is kind of strange. I am going to sub Boyd to the top. Tatar's going to go down just for a little bit, just to change up the defensive pairings. And then goaltending still will be Solovyov. But how has Newman been in the lineup with Schaefer obviously being out with an injury? He's not been terrible, but I still don't like that penalty he took in overtime. Actually, it wasn't him that took that penalty. Who was it that took that penalty? Who was it that took that penalty? No, maybe it was him that took that penalty. It says he never took a penalty, though. That's strange. I thought it said he took a penalty in overtime, but maybe it was somebody else. Oh, wait, that's regular season. That's why. Yeah, he never took a penalty during 3 regular season games, and then he takes one in the playoffs at the worst time possible to give them a 5-on-3. But he's been not that bad here this postseason so far as a little depth option, but obviously I would prefer Schaefer being in our lineup over Newman any day. So how is Solovyov's numbers looking now at 915? Yeah, he's still doing pretty good, I would say. But obviously, last game kind of sucks considering we were up 2-0 at one point. We were up 3-2, and then they still hung around and won that game. So we got to be able to hold on to our leads going forward if we want to have a chance to win this round. So anyways, let's get to game 4. Hopefully, Schaefer's back to full health for next game. If he's not, this is going to be not great. But the Kings are up 3-0 right now on the Jets here in this conference finals. So it looks like the LA Kings might be going to the Stanley Cup finals unless there's a reverse sweep there. But can we find a way to get back into the series? Obviously, if we lose this game, we're down 3-1. We win this game, it becomes a best of 3 going forward. So let's have a good response here after last game's overtime loss. Come on, boys. First period, an all-important game 4. Let's get off to a good start. First period. 2-0 Toronto. I kind of smell cheese now. Kind of smell the cheese. Perfetti scores early into the game, and then a late goal in that period from Nikitin. Now, we might be able to respond with 2 goals of our own in the second period like they did to us last game, but honestly, I'm not too sure if that will happen or not because we haven't been scoring consistently, so I don't really expect it. But if we could score at least 1 goal in the second period, that could give us a chance. Shots are 16-9 in favor of the Leafs, so a pretty bad first period in terms of giving up a lot of chances and only being down by 2 goals. So we need a better second period here, or else we're going to need to come maybe back out of the 3-1 hole, which is going to be very, very tough. Second period. 2-1. Okay, that's good. That'll at least get 1 goal. We didn't give up any goals. Crane pulls us within 1, so we are still in this game, but we do obviously need that next goal as well. Shots are 27-22 in favor of Toronto. So far, our offense has been struggling in this conference finals. Can we find a way to tie this game up in the third period? Come on, boys. Who wants to be the hero and tie this game up for me? Let's see what happens. Third period underway. Can we tie this game at 2? Potentially. Penalty kill. Nicely done. Penalty kill again. Stop taking penalties, boys. They scored power play goals last game. We know it's important to kill those off. Power play for us. We do not score on it of our own. Final few minutes, still down by a goal. Can we tie this game up? Yes, we can, and it is Crane. But they answered right back from Wisniewski. Are you kidding me, man? And then I get the empty netter. And this is not looking good. We need to call out of a 3-1 hole as we lose both games in Toronto. They outshot us 44-33. It looked like we were potentially going to go to an overtime because we tied it up late. But literally 50 seconds after that, Wisniewski scored. Not good. I'm not going to still blame Solovyov on that one because we gave up way too many shots in this game. But man, the smell of cheese is in the air. But if we could come back from a 3-1 deficit in this conference finals, we probably could win a Stanley Cup. So we got to just be mindful of that. Crane at least showed up, but nobody else really did. So Crane from Kaminsky and Boyd and Crane from Kassivi and Eriksson. But we need to definitely find ways to score more goals here. We definitely do. Spencer Knight's been a different animal right now for the Leafs. Because we have been able to score over 2 goals one time, has it been? Yeah, we scored 1 goal, 4 goals, 3 goals actually there, and 2 goals. So, yeah, we're just not scoring enough here against the Toronto team that we should be scoring goals against. Like, we literally knocked out the defending Cup champions. And now we're having a tough time with the team that shouldn't be even in this situation, potentially. What do we want to do? So Schaefer's not back to full health yet because I didn't get that notification, but I almost feel like he should go in the lineup, but I also don't want to risk him getting injured again, so I probably won't throw him in, but we are going to have to make some crazy adjustments here. So what I'm going to do here is Bjorkstrand's going back to the top line. We are going to run... You know what? We're going to go Mäkinen on the first line, Bjorkstrand on the second line, Eriksson as the third line center, Leahy is going to be the fourth line center. We're going to move Giordano to the top line. We're going to move Ciofito to the second line. And we're going to run Korliuk as a third liner. Nielikainen as a fourth line still. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to lean towards. Yeah. And I'm going to swap probably Crane and Frundell maybe. Frundell's actually been our best player, so maybe not. From a defensive standpoint, I am going to swap Newman and Albrecht. And from a goaltending perspective, we're still running Solovyov. So the offensive core, it's basically going to make us stronger down the middle. So maybe that gives us a better chance. But that's what we're going to run with. I could always throw Korliuk onto the top line because he's been producing quite well for his ice time. But I honestly don't know if I would want to throw him on a top line over Giordano and stuff like that. So... it's a little bit of a weird lineup setup, but we're going to run with this for now, just to see if it could help us get back into the series. We could go back to original lines at any point, but let's do that. Bjorkstrand's been kind of disappointing this postseason a little bit. Maybe not, actually. He's actually been pretty solid, but his last 2 games... yeah, he hasn't scored in 4 straight games, so that's kind of where I want to get him going a little bit more so. He was good against Columbus, but against the Leafs so far, he's done nothing. Like, most of the goal scoring on our team has been, like, bottom 6 guys against the Leafs. So we need other guys to step up, and we need it now. Because if we lose the next game, we're done. So, can we find a way to win this next game, and then maybe Schaefer will be back for the next game, and then we can maybe keep on winning games? I'm not too sure, but the Jets are now down 3-1, so maybe the Jets are going to try and do what we are doing, but maybe they'll pull off a reverse sweep. I'm not too sure. But we need a real-time simulation here. Can we find a way to stay alive against a cheese team in Toronto? Or is Toronto going to be going to the Cup Finals? Let's see what happens. Come on, guys. Let's play good in front of our fans here. Get this win. Power play for us. We do not score on it. Maybe I should have readjusted the special teams too while we were at it. But it is what it is. I could have went best lines, but I don't feel like best lines sometimes doesn't work well. So, it is what it is. Come on, boys. And it's going to be a scoreless first period, but the shots dead even as well, 10-10. So, not really a problem with that first period, but I do not like that we're not scoring goals. We need to find that goal scoring strength we had at one point. Because right now we're just kind of playing like a typical Islanders team, which is playing good defensively and winning games only when we play good defensively. So, we need a strong second period here, and we need to find that game's first goal if possible. Let's see what happens. Period number 2. Come on, guys. Let's get that next goal. Let's get that next goal. Let's win this game for Schaefer, and then hopefully he's back next game. Wisniewski opens the scoring for the Leafs. God damn it, Wisniewski. We had a power play, but we didn't score on it. And we do answer afterwards, though. Mäkinen has finally showed up here in the second, or not the second round, the third round. But that's a huge goal from Mäkinen. Like I said, the top six hasn't been doing too much so far against the Leafs, but that's a big goal for him. Shots are in our favor, 22-19. We still only have one goal in this game, and we've barely been scoring goals against this Leafs team. We need a strong third period here to give us a chance to come back in the series. Let's see what happens in this third period, potentially the last period of the season. Can we get that next goal and get that lead? No, we cannot. Jääskeläinen, of course, it has to be Jääskeläinen that gives the Leafs the lead in the third period. God damn it, man. Final few minutes. Can we find a way to tie this one up? We're going to probably just jump in here. I know there's 6 minutes left and we could potentially still survive, but I'm going to try and EA Voodoo this by jumping in and watching, and maybe this will help us tie it up at least, but the fact that we're only a few minutes away from potentially being eliminated in the conference finals is kind of ridiculous, especially on a goal from Jääskeläinen too. Like, this team definitely should be a lot better than the Leafs, but I feel like we're almost cursed. Maybe because I got rid of, maybe because I took over Lou Lamoriello's job, I basically got cursed with whatever Lou Lamoriello has. But we need to find a way to get this win here if we can. Still time on the clock, so we just got to find a way to play in the offensive zone more than in our own zone here. Here comes Mäkinen. Mäkinen carries it into the Leaf zone. Mäkinen walks in. A backhander. He scores. There you go. That's why we jump in, just in case. Because maybe we'll do better when we actually jump in. Mäkinen ties the game up with a backhand shot that looked like it wasn't even going to go in. That's his 5th goal of the playoffs. And that's kind of crazy that Korluk literally has as much goals as he does. But that backhander was through a screen and goes right in. That screened by, who was that screened him? That was Giordano. What the hell? That was an interesting animation. I got to look back at that play, but that's a huge tying goal for this team, and maybe that could help us get some momentum going forward, but the Leafs are going to take a timeout right after that. Hopefully this is not one of those games where we jump in and then we see goals on both sides back and forth, but let's take a look at that goal for a second here. Because this was an interesting animation. This backhander's not really that threatening, but there's a screen in front. And Giordano sees that this coming towards him. He just decides to basically lunge out of the way like that. And then it goes right under the blocker and in. That's an interesting stretch. Jeez, that's pretty funny. So shout out to that. That's a big goal. Big goal. So Mäkinen showing up at the right time, but obviously we still need to find a way to get that lead. So let's hope that we could find it now that we've jumped into this game. Frondell and Boyd got the assist on that goal, in case you were wondering. And that's offsides. Damn. Alright. Well, at least now we have a game in our hands, potentially. Like I said, if we could find a way just to win this game, any game, we could win potentially in Toronto, and then we could go to a Game 7. Anything could happen. Mäkinen on to draw against Cole Perfetti, and Perfetti wins it. Keaton with it for the Leafs. Throws it back to Zane Parekh. He gets hit by Frondell. Nicely done, Frondell. He finds Giordano. Giordano with the puck, trying to make some moves, lost it. But this is the new look top line for a little bit at least. Jääskeläinen with it for the Leafs. Throws it to Perfetti over to Vorobiev, and it's blocked. Nice block. Here is Boyd. Boyd throws it over, and that is almost offsides, but Giordano held on to it, and then he lost it. Here's Zane Parekh. Parekh with it for the Leafs. Jumps it in, gets it back, throws it in front, and they score. Well, it is one of those games, I guess, when we jump in and there's multiple goals on both sides. Cole Perfetti gives the Leafs back the lead with only a few minutes left. And that is not ideal. Bad defensive play by Houghton. Went for the stick lift, and then Perfetti walked right into the slot. Gets the one-timer off, and nothing Solovyov could do on that. Goddamn, man. I hope that we can find a way to answer to that, but this is not looking good for your Islanders, guys. I really thought we had a chance to potentially win the Cup this year, but we ran into this cheese team in Toronto. There is still time on the clock for us to get back into this, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Cialfido gets decked. Here is Altonen for Toronto. Cialfido throws him down. Ludeman turns it over. Here may be an offensive chance as Bjorkstrand gets to the puck. Bjorkstrand turns it over. It's Phil Michelli, the former Islander. Oh, no. Please, no, please. Oh, big save by Solovyov to keep us within one. Bjorkstrand with it now. He throws it over to Crane, who's been good in the series. He gets stood up. Oh my goodness. We're almost down to the last minute of the third period. Only down by a goal still. Just got to find a way to get that next one if possible. Here's Boyd. We're into the last minute. Boyd getting board pinned. Can we get it out of our zone, please? Sealfido finds Crane. We might pull the goalie here shortly. And Bjorkstrand walks in. Now we pull the goalie. Bjorkstrand can't get it to the net. Ludeman finds Jaskalainen. No, not Jaskalainen. Over to Altonen for Robiev. And Perfetti with it. And he's going to score because they don't even know how to block a shot on the empty net. Cole Perfetti, the empty netter, and that's going to close out this series as the Leafs are going to probably be heading to the Stanley Cup Finals against maybe the Jets, maybe the Kings. It's probably going to be the Kings, though. How does this guy not know how to block a shot? I know it's Tatar, but literally, if you're in a situation like this, you'd definitely be getting it off their stick faster. Like, they just don't play when there's an empty net. Like, what's this defensive play? Like, you got to get your stick in the lane or something like that. Goddamn, man. This is so unfortunate. This is so unfortunate. Like, this team definitely should have been able to beat this Leafs team, but the smell of cheese took over, and it knocked out everybody on our team. But we'll still watch the last little bit of this anyways, just to see our guys play out there a little bit more. But this is unfortunate, man. Cole Perfetti, the dagger, pretty much. Albrecht throws it over to Frundell. We do pull the goalie again. Anton Frundell walks in, finds it to Tatar. He bombs it, turned away. Giordano can't get back to the front of the net as he gets decked. So Jaskalainen's going to have a chance to win the Stanley Cup, huh? Him and Michelli before us, huh? Perfetti is going to get literally, maybe, nope, he's not. I thought he was going to get a hat trick in the third period because that was very close to it. Here's Frundell again, shoots it, Knight the save. 11.6 left on the clock. Much too late at this point. If we were still down by a goal, it would be nice because maybe we could find a way to get another goal here, but the fact that they just got another empty net goal, it's impossible almost to score 2 goals in 11 seconds. Eriksson at the draw, he wins it cleanly, leg with the puck. Finds it, Albrecht, he shoots, it's blocked, loose puck, Frundell, scramble, and that will pretty much do it. Yep. The Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be going to the Stanley Cup Finals, knocking out your Islanders in only 5 games, was it? I don't even remember what game we're in. I think, yeah, 5 games. Just the team did not show up offensively enough. And we got goalied. And the Leafs were able to find that scoring. I'm going to already press skip on all that because I do not need to see the Leafs celebrate. I just don't. That's unfortunate, man. That's unfortunate. Since we jumped in, I thought we were going to have a chance because of the Mäkinen goal, but 2 goals from Perfetti is the difference maker in that one. Damn it. Yeah, our top line and stuff like that just didn't show up enough. Like, we had depth scoring show up in this conference finals a little bit. Guys like Korliuk and all that, but our top 6 was very quiet in that round, and that's the main difference. I think the Leafs end up getting offense from a lot of guys on their roster. If we would have got consistent offense, I think we would have had a better chance, but not good at all. Not good at all. That sucks. I don't know if it would have been different if Schaefer would have been healthy or not, but from an offensive standpoint, you can see like Frundell was over a point per game, but nobody else was over a point per game. But if you look at like the scoring in that round against the Leafs from like a game log perspective, I mean, you had 3 points, 3 assists from Frundell, no goals. Actually, 1 goal in game 1, so 1 goal, 3 assists. So he was okay. But guys like Mäkinen, Bjorkstrand really didn't do enough. Mäkinen literally had 2 goals in that last game, obviously. But aside from that, didn't score in the rest of the series. So it was a little bit too late. Then you had Bjorkstrand, who also, like I said, was kind of quiet. If we look at his game log, he had no points in that round. So those 2 guys, very disappointing, in my opinion, even though they were good throughout the first 2 rounds. Crane, we know, was good. Leahy, I think, was pretty decent. But, like, Giordano was pretty bad. I know we have a big contract with him. He was good in a regular season, but his playoff numbers, he only had 1 assist against the Leafs. So, definitely need that top 6 doing better. Sealfido was also kind of lackluster, too. I know he was injured at one point, but he also only had 1 assist against the Leafs. So, in general, our top players did not play like top players. And then from a defensive standpoint, Houghton even, I think, wasn't that good against Toronto either. Yeah, Howden only had 2 assists against the Leafs, so despite being a great offensive defenseman, he could not find that scoring whatsoever against Toronto. Like, everybody was kind of stalemated, which is not good. Tatar had 9 points. Like, the depth scoring, like I said, is okay, but we just did not have a big guy step up at the right time, which is unfortunate. And then goaltending, Slovyov was pretty solid, I would say. Let's take a look at his game log. Yeah, he was pretty solid in that round against Toronto. I think he was actually one of our best players in that round. He gave us a chance to win every night. His worst game was an .895. But aside from that, he had a .930 save percentage in every single game except for the .909 as well. But yeah, I think he was good. But the rest of the team obviously needs to be much better in terms of scoring goals. Like, the best goal scorer in the playoffs for us was Crane. But then you have, other than Mäkinen and Bjorkstrand, who had goals in the first few rounds, somehow Korolyuk had more goals than Anton Frondell, guys like Leahy, Seal, Fido. So that's a little bit of a question mark. It is what it is, though. It is what it is. Hopefully we can find a way to be a little bit better next year. Obviously, we have a lot of big contracts up for renewal this offseason, so going to be a tough time. But let's find out who ends up winning the Stanley Cup and all that stuff, and then I'll show you guys like the contract situation, wrap up the season. And there's Schaefer being back. Let's just go best lines. But disappointing year again for this Islanders club. I feel like this team is cursed, kind of, because we should have won a cup by now, but we haven't. As the LA Kings go on to win the Stanley Cup, so they beat Toronto. Henderson wins the Calder Cup. So the LA Kings Stanley Cup champions in 2038. Who is on their roster at this point? Because I honestly don't even know. Like, is there any former New York Islanders on that roster? Let's see. LA. Let's see. Centers, Byfield, Marcoux. Matt Barzal was on that team. Well, at least Matt Barzal went on to win a cup this year. That's not a big disappointment. It would have been interesting if we would have faced the Kings in the Cup Finals, but he does get his first Stanley Cup, so shout out to Matt Barzal. What else is there? No guys I recognize there. Nobody there. What about the defense? Nobody there. Goalies? Just Benjamin Menard. I've seen that guy up there before. All right, so at least one former player went on to win a Stanley Cup. That's kind of cool. How many games did it take for them to beat the Leafs? 5 games only. I wonder if we would have had a better shot at beating the Kings if we would have gotten there. Interesting. All right, awards. Let's take a look at this at least. So the LA Kings win the Stanley Cup. That might be the first time they've won the Stanley Cup in this timeline. Probably it is. Chicago won the President's Trophy. LA, Toronto Cup Finals. Individual awards. Connor Bedard, the Art Ross Trophy winner and the Hart winner. Houghton does win his second straight Norris, so shout out to Houghton. Maybe he'll win more in these future years, but like I said, a little bit of a disappointing round for him against Toronto, but I know that he can't really do everything on this team, so hopefully he continues to win more Norrises as we go on through the series. Bedard wins the Lady Byng. Wisniewski wins the Calder for Toronto. He had some big goals against us. That's unfortunate, man. And then they also had Vorobiev win last year, so Toronto's got some good young talent, I guess, in that sense. Michelli won the Conn Smythe for the LA Kings. Dubnyk wins the Vezina Trophy for Colorado. All right. He also wins the Jennings. Blake wins the Masterton for Vegas. McCollum, which is Columbus's coach, wins the Jack Adams. Bedard does Selke. Interesting. For the third time in the last 5 years. He also wins the Lindsay, and he wins the Richard. So Connor Bedard won a ton of awards this year. Any AHL awards for our AHL team? Out of curiosity. Does not look like it, unfortunately. It is what it is, though. Alright, so the only award that we got this season was to our defenseman in Houghton. Let's just take a look at his cabinet now of those 2 Norris trophies. I think he's definitely going to win more. He's only 28, so... But looking pretty good with those 2 Norris trophies. Obviously, his big extension kicks in place next season. So he's going to be kind of pricey, but at the same time, we should have a very solid roster still next year. But we need to find a way to just be able to win games in the postseason now, which is the most important thing. All right. Well, let's simulate up to the draft lottery results and all that stuff. I think we have multiple first-round picks this year, don't we? So we should be able to maybe move up in the draft if we want to or not. But Pittsburgh, Florida, Nashville, Vancouver, and Anaheim have the top 5 selections this year. I guess the teams we traded with are playoff teams too, so we technically have like 3 probably late first-round picks. What is what is. All right. So retirements this year, Matt Barzal did retire with the LA Kings, winning the Stanley Cup. So at least that's kind of neat, I would say. Him and Braden Point retire, Svechnikov, Keller. Some pretty big names. Guys probably that played with us and that we played against. But like Simon Holmstrom retired too. Shout out to him from the early years of the series. All right. What about goalies? Actually, with defenders, I guess, because we didn't look at defensemen. Cale McCarr retires this year. Okay, that's a pretty big one. And Noah Dobson, our former defenseman, has retired as well. So good to see Dobson retiring. I don't think he won any cups after leaving us, right? No, he did not. So no Stanley Cups for Noah Dobson, but it is okay. Aside from that, some other good defensemen, but that's pretty much it. Goalies. Spencer Knight retires after beating us. Of course he does. So we literally just lost to a goaltender that went on to a cup finals and lost. God damn it, Spencer. Why did you have to still be in the league at this point? Because like when he played against us, he literally posted some crazy good numbers. Like a 971, a 914, a 925, 939, and a 938. And then against the LA Kings, he ended up getting completely destroyed. He had one really good game. Actually, two really good games, but of course he has to retire after that. Like, if we would have been running into the Toronto Maple Leafs next year, maybe we wouldn't have got cheesed. I honestly don't know. Damn. Alright, so there is all the retirements. Coach retirements, did we lose anybody? I don't think so. Nobody in Bridgeport, and nobody with our organization. Okay, good. We aren't going to do any draft interviews, but let's take a look at some things to wrap up this episode. So starting off with, I guess, the progress reports. Let's see if we're getting any good growth or drop-off from anybody. So, goaltending. Solovyov is getting some statistical growth, I think. Statistical drop-off. Damn. He is 30 years old at this point, so maybe that makes sense. From an in the system for goalies, Nilsson's up to a 66 at 21. The French starters aren't really growing that much. And Schulz, who we didn't decide to sign, didn't grow at all as a 71 high fringe starter. So I think this guy definitely needs to be playing in the AHL next year, or else he's not going to grow. That's unfortunate. I thought he would get at least some growth, but it is what it is. Defensively, Howden up by 19 points. That's probably mostly statistical. Yeah, a lot of statistical growth with him. Tatar on an 88 overall. Boyd, all right. Albrecht is up to a 79 with some actual natural growth, so that's nice. In the system, Rutter's pretty close to being a defenseman. Newman probably I'd let go of, to be honest. Novoseltsev, though, up to a 77 at 20, probably should be on our defensive core next year. How was his first AHL season? 16 points, not bad. No playoffs. But yeah, Novoseltsev is pretty much ready to make that jump. So him and Osgood could be on our defensive core next season, but I don't really know if there's anybody from this defensive core I would move out. So it's going to be tough. Obviously, Wilkinson's going to be probably just dropped to free agency. But to get somebody like Novoseltsev and Osgood in the lineup, we'd have to get rid of somebody like, say, Albrecht and Kasivi, Schaefer and Boyd, Tatar and Houghton. Like, I honestly have no idea. I'm going to get everybody to work with this team. Aside from that, some other growth from other low elites, it looks like, which is good. All right. Right wing side of things, we do have some growth from Ellington. He's up to a 78. Yeah, he probably could be in our lineup next year. A lot of natural growth for him at 24 years old. He could probably be like a fourth line slash dev forward. He could be easily a replacement for Nielakainen if I wanted to trade Nielakainen, because I don't know if I'll be able to get Nielakainen more ice time, considering he's now a third line scoring forward. So we might have to think about trading Nielakainen because of that role. Ulanov's up to a 74 at 23. Still not great. He has a lot of trade value, so maybe we trade him away beforehand. I'm not too sure. Let's head to left wingers. Ferndell is going up by 21 points on statistical growth at the age of 31. All right. Crane up to an 88. We know that Crane's a pending free agent, so he's going to cost a lot of money. Silfido went up by a couple points. All three of them are listed as first-line forwards. God damn, man. Well, I know I can't get Silfido first-line ice time. He's going to be in the top 6, but maybe it makes sense to let go of Crane so Silfido could get in that spot in that second line. Because now that we have Giordano locked up, Oh, man, that's tough. I would really want Crane, but I don't know if we need him on that. Depends on what they're asking for. Leg is also up to an 83 and listed as a second line forward as an 83. I don't think there's any way I get Leg second line ice time. So the fact that he's a pending UFA, I might honestly have to go of Leg, which kind of sucks. And in the system, Bigris is up to a 77. He could honestly replace Leg probably. He is going to be a little bit lower end though. Ragnarsson's up to a 76 at 18. When did we draft this guy again? First round. Okay, that makes sense more. Yeah, Ragnarsson is pretty damn good. He's getting a lot of growth. So he's also a guy that could potentially crack the bottom 6 next year. Savage up to a 64. All right. Good to see some of the low leads growing. And then in terms of centers, a lot of statistical growth. Maybe some natural with guys like Mäkinen. Mäkinen has tape to tape now. Has a gold X Factor. I don't think he did before, if I remember right. Maybe he did. Bjorkstrand still looking okay. He's also first liner. Eriksson's listed as a first liner too. Why is everybody listed as a first line forward on this team? And I believe Eriksson's a pending UFA as well. Leahy's a third line scoring forward, so that's good. There's a realistic chance we might have to let go of a lot of people because they're roles. That's my guess. Korliuk is apparently only a 76, it says, but he literally was just a 79. I really hope he's better again next season. It's probably just temporary that he's that low. 70 at 21 for Sprooks. All right. Yeah, I feel like we have maybe too many guys listed as like first line forwards and stuff. Because if we look at this sort of by roles, we have 3, 6, 7 guys listed as first line forwards. So we could get easily ice time for Frundell, for Crane if we bring him back, Mäkinen, for Bjorkstrand, Giordano. But Sealfield or Eriksson, one of those guys would be third line material. So I don't know if I could bring literally everybody back considering they're listed as first lines. I don't really think it makes sense to play a first liner on a third line either. So likely we probably let go of Eriksson and then Leahy becomes that third line center behind Mäkinen. And maybe we use Giordano as a center now. I'm not too sure, but that's interesting. And we have one second line forward in Leg. Like I said, I don't think there's any way I could get Leg a lot of ice time. I honestly might have to just let him walk. Leahy's a third line scoring forward. Neil Kainen's a third line scoring forward. I don't know if I could get him that ice time. I might have to trade him away. Oh my goodness. And then we have one top 2 defenseman, a bunch of top 4s, or 4 top 4s, I should say. And then we also have a lot of top 6s / depth defenders and depth forwards. Oh boy. Yeah, we might have to make some really crazy adjustments again this offseason. Man, this is tough. Because obviously there's some guys I can't trade away. There's some guys that I can trade away, but I don't know if I would really want to or not. Well, that's going to be a tough situation. That's going to be a tough situation for sure. Okay, final few things. Let's take a look at the contracts and the draft class. So the contract situation, this is where it's going to get interesting. So let me remove my face so you guys can see everything. Bjorkstrand's a pending RFA. This is his last year, I believe, of RFA status. Let's double check on that. Yes, it is. He only wants a 1-year deal right now. So I could obviously give him that, but obviously it's going to be different probably when we get to the re-sign stage. But Bjorkstrand, I think, is kind of an important player to get back. He wasn't great against the Leafs, but we still should probably hold on to him. Crane is the big one. He's a pending UFA at the age of 28. So what is he wanting right now? He wants a long-term deal and a lot of money. There's a realistic chance Crane might be gone. He does have organizational interest that's pretty high, so we could probably knock him down by like 2 bars almost. So I might be able to get him for like maybe just a hair over $11 million. But at the same time, I'm not too sure if that's a good deal for us to do. He doesn't want a clause right now, which is kind of surprising, but not too sure if I want to justify $11 million. There's also Eriksson, like I said, he's also listed as a first liner, but he wants a 7-year deal at 11.375. He's definitely not going to get this type of contract. Like, Eriksson's solid, but this might be the time we just let go of Eriksson. I was thinking about potentially trading him this year. But yeah, we'd have to pay him probably like 10 million bucks to stay on this roster, which is a lot of money. I prefer Crane at that point. Leg, like I said, is listed as a second liner, so I don't know if there's a way to get him more ice time. He wants 5 million bucks, so he wants to be paid like a second liner, kind of. We probably could knock him down by 2 bars as well to like 4 million bucks, but I'm not too sure if I could do that. If I lose Crane, I could hold on to Leg, potentially. Leahy, he's an RFA at least, but 1 year and then he's a UFA, so we might want to give him multiple years, but he doesn't want too much. He's an easy one we could hold on to. I think he's going to have a big year if he gets a chance this upcoming season. Kaminsky's a UFA. We might not even bring him back. Osgood's a pending RFA, and he hasn't played in the NHL yet. He wants already $2.1 million, and then he's an RFA again, so we should probably get him into the NHL or trade away his rights at least. Aside from that, a lot of other AHL kind of guys. Goaltending-wise, Hainsey's a pending UFA as a backup. We could hold on to him, but we could also look for a new backup. He wants $3 million right now, which is not too bad as a backup goaltender. But he is, I believe, listed as a starter. Let's double check on that. Yeah, he's listed as a starter, so we probably should let him go in favor of basically finding ourselves a new backup. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. But this offseason is going to be a tough one, I feel like, especially after the fact that we did not win a Stanley Cup. If we won a Stanley Cup, I would have been better letting go of some guys. But since we haven't won a cup yet, it's really tough for me to like part ways with players. But I think for sure on the chopping block, Eriksson, maybe Leg if we don't bring back Crane. Aside from that, maybe guys like Kaminsky, Lindros easily could go. It's not going to be the worst case scenario, but we got to be careful with the money we spend this offseason for sure. So, final thing we got to take a look at is the draft class. I'm pretty sure we have 3 first-round picks this year, right? Yes, we do. So we have 23rd, 29th, and 30th, which is not great. And we also have 2 second-rounders because of our trade with Sierra years ago, or 2 years ago, I guess, at this point. So we could still move up in this draft if there's anybody above 23 that looks interesting, or we could just use every one of these picks. So let's take a look at what goes around 23, 29, and 30. If there's nobody interesting at those spots, maybe we try and move up. But we could end up maybe grabbing some good steals at those spots too. So 23, we got Kyler Garcia. He looks terrible. Oh my goodness. 4 years out, listed as a bust. Yeah, I'm not taking that guy. Medium top 60, no thank you. Medium top 4, offensive defenseman that's right-handed and looks pretty good. Well, that's definitely somebody I would take with the Colorado selection for sure. So that looks good. What about 29? What could we take with the 29th pick? Cutler doesn't look good. Low lead in Popov. We would definitely take Popov with that selection. So right now we might actually keep with our picks, because we could probably get an NHL-ready defenseman, which I don't know if I really want with our defense core situation already. But he is a right-handed offensive defenseman, so that's kind of neat. Popov, being a low-lead playmaker, is definitely somebody I would take with the other selection. And then with number 30, is this supposed to go around 30 yet? Michael Nielsen might be that pick. He is listed as a gem, so maybe him. There's also Fedorov we could potentially take. There's Alexandrov, who's another defenseman. Yeah, I think we honestly might keep with our picks here. Ooh, a medium elite left defenseman, 2-way. Thomas Erzberg. He is 20 years old, though, at this point. Supposed to go this high. That's kind of interesting. All right. He might not be the craziest player in the world, though. Yeah, I think we honestly could keep with our picks. We could keep with our picks, or we could try and move up. We'll take a look at some picks earlier on, too. But let's take a look at by potential. There's a high league goalie this year. Maybe that's something we take. I honestly don't know. What else we got here? There's a meme elite that we looked at already. What about low leads outside of the guys that I already saw? There is Lindsay Lowly DFD this year. Junior Lindsay. He's supposed to go like 7th round. All right. This draft actually might not be too bad, which is good for us because we could always use more prospects. But if we wanted to move up this year, is there anything worth moving up for? Because Zanov at 8th overall, probably not. I wouldn't move up for him because I don't think we could even move up with those 3 first rounders. Maybe we could, but I prefer probably grabbing multiple players that are good. Triff is probably just a top 6. Yeah, I don't think there's anything I would be worth moving up for. I don't think. So I think our selections in this year's draft, Holmstrom, because he's obviously going to be a pretty good defender out of the gate. And then I would say probably Popov, considering he's a low elite. And maybe the gem top 6 forward in Nielsen. So I think we'll probably keep with our selections, which means some more good prospects coming to our system, which is good. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of New York Islanders Franchise Mode. So in next episode, we will take it to another draft and re-sign stage. It's going to be a very tough offseason for this team. We're probably going to lose some nice players that have been with us for a while, but we might need to reconfigure things a little bit because this team's playoff success has been so wonky. Like, we've been going to cup finals and losing in them and then not winning again. And it's kind of disappointing that this team hasn't won yet. I think we're definitely still due to win a Stanley Cup. But we need to maybe make some crazy adjustments. Like maybe Anton Frundell, we find a way to trade away him this offseason. That way we creep on to Crane. Crane could be a top line guy instead. I do really like Frundell, but maybe there's some sort of adjustment we need to make. Like Frundell's kind of carrying those losing ways from his old past when we were losing a lot of games over to this team. So maybe he's the curse. I'm not too sure if that's the case or not, but we definitely need to find a way to readjust this team and find a way to get this team to be able to win games in the playoffs like they do during the regular season. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.